Okay, I think we should. I think we should make a start. Yeah, this is also being recorded. I hope that's okay for everyone. So those who are unable to join can catch up. Later. So we're up to the month of Kislev. Now I sent out some sheets, source sheets, but I can put them up on the screen when we get there as well, if that's helpful to people. Perhaps we'll try and do that. Let me know if you think that's a good idea. We'll take a few minutes till we get to those sources. Yeah, I'd also like to thank Chava Woolik for her advice in terms of the source sheets. I managed to use the resources to put punctuation, to put the nakudas in, all the punctuation, the vowels, and everything else, which I think is hopefully helpful and more readable. So so thank you for that. Okay, so we're going to talk about the month of Kislev, Chodesh Kislev. The first fascinating thing to know about Kislev is the fact that I think maybe more than any month, it is the month which lost out for many centuries and only came to regain its place many centuries later. There's a midrash which describes, not on the sheets, that the work of the construction of the Mishkan, which began on the 15th of Tishri, ended in the month of Kislev, which means that really the building of the Mishkan the dedication should have taken place then in the month of Kislev, but it was delayed to Nisan because of the significance of Yitzchak. The Yitzchak was born in Nisan, and it's delayed to Rosh Chodesh Nisan because Yitzchak corresponds to Avodah, the concept of the Avodah in the Beis Hamikdash and Tefillah and everything else, and therefore the Beis Hamikdash was dedicated the Mishkan was dedicated during the month of Nisan. The problem is that Kislev then lost out. So the Medrash tells us that Omer HaKadosh Baruch Hu Laila Shalim Lo. It's for me to pay back Kislev. Ma Shilim Lo. How did he pay back? How did Hashem pay back Kislev? The answer is with the Chanukas Beis Chashmonai, with the dedication of the Beis Hamikdash in the time of the Chashmonai. So what we have is this idea that the whole month of Kislev had to wait many months, many years, even many centuries, until it regained its rightful place, until it contained within it the dedication that was originally its due. And I think this is just a very important and if you like lesson, that this month contains within it the essence of the fact that sometimes we have to wait for to find the right place that we have, or the thing that we're particularly looking for in life. One of the lessons of Kislev seems to be the idea of patience, the idea of allowing a place, a time or a place to become a place of light may take time, but eventually, as they say, all good things come to those who wait. I think that's one little idea that we learn from the month of Kislev. What I'd like to take you through this evening is what I think is an incredibly beautiful idea on the notion of Hanukkah, which obviously contains the essence of Kislev. We all think immediately of Hanukkah, but it's a piece about Hanukkah, which I think goes far beyond Hanukkah. It allows us to approach Hanukkah in a different way to before, but also critically to take from it some essential lessons for life, which go far beyond those days themselves. And the piece is based on a piece by Rav Moshe Shapiro, who is almost unmatched in the depth and profundity of his thought, and the way he's able to bring together disparate sources to really teach us new and profound ideas and understandings, and things that are really genuinely different ways of looking, particularly at the Yom Tov, and particularly at the cycle of the Jewish year. So we begin with a basic set of questions that we have about Hanukkah itself. When it comes to Erev to Pesach, when it comes to Purim, there is an obligation, like Hanukkah, to publicize the miracle, to publicize what happened. We know that on Pesach we have to do that through the Haggadah. We tell the story, the miracles, the wonders, everything that happened to our ancestors in Egypt. But what it is we And of course, with Purim as well. Purim, we know that we are obligated, obviously, to publicize the miracle, Pirsumei Nissa, and we do that through reading the Megillah. Hanukkah is defined also by the idea of Pirsum Hanes. So you have to publicize the miracle of Hanukkah. But on Hanukkah, no one really tells the story in any great detail. There is no halacha, there is no law that requires us to tell the story in detail. It is maybe beneficial to know, we grow up knowing the basics of the story, but there's certainly no mitzvah to describe the story. There is no mitzvah to read what's known as Megillas Antiochus or the book of the Chashmonaim, the Sefer Chashmon, which these are books which where they're not part of Tanakh. Even in the Tefillah of Ananissim, we talk about the miracle, we talk about what happened, Giborim, Yad Chaloshim, we talk about the mighty hands of the week, but it's all very brief. It's not described in any great detail. It is nothing like the way we describe the events of Purim and the way we describe the events of Yetzias Mitzrayim on Pesach. So what is it? Why is it that when it comes to Hanukkah, the publicizing of the miracle is so different from all other cases of publicizing miracles, so different to Purim and Pesach? Where is it that here, all we do is we publicize the nes, we publicize the miracle through lighting these lights. We light the menorah, and that itself is the publicizing of the miracle. Clearly, the publicizing of the miracle of Hanukkah is of a different type. It's a different level, it's a different class entirely to those other situations in the Jewish year, when we go through the cycle of the year, when we publicize the miracle. And what is it? So there is a Gemara in Yuma. This is the first source on the sheet, which I'll try and see if I can, if I can share with you on the screen. Can you see that? Someone put their hands up. Can you see that on the screen? Is that okay? Yeah. Can someone see it? Someone indicate to me they can see it. Great. Thank you. So here we go. So you've also said some of you may have it yourselves, just in case those who don't. Here it is. The Gemara in Yoma talks about the famous parak in Tehillim, the Ayeles HaShachar, the hint of the dawn of the morning. A description of why it is that this particular mizmor refers to Esther, and it talks about the fact that the Ayala, the hind, has its horns are split. Its horns are split in either direction. So too, maftzilo also splits in different ways. The light, presumably, it means dissipates in different directions. And then Rabbi Asi says the following thing. He says like this. He says, Omar Rabbi Asi, Loma nimshla Esther l'shachar. Why is Esther compared to the morning? Lo melacha, to tell you, ma shachar sof kol halayla. Just like the morning is the end of the night, af Esther sof kol hanissim. Some have the text kula. Esther is the end of all miracles. It is the end of all miracles. Now the Gemara asks, how can you say that? V'hoeka Chanukah. Surely that's Chanukah. Chanukah came after Purim. So why? Purim, of course, takes place during the 70 years of the exile from at the end of the destruction of the first Beis Hamikdash. But Hanukkah comes later. It comes in the time of the second Beis Hamikdash. So why is it that Hanukkah is not considered to be at the time during one of these miracles? Says the Gemara, Nitno likosef ka'amino. We're talking only about those miracles, those nissim that were given to be written, that were actually they were transferred to us through a formal written text, meaning a text of the Torah of Tanakh. So you see from this Gemara that there's a fundamental difference between a miracle that is described through the written word, and something that is not part of the written word, is not part of the Torah Shebechsav, the written Torah. And what is the difference between them? The difference between them is, says Rav Moshe Shapiro, that when we talk about the Torah Shebechsav, then there is a fundamental difference between that and everything that came subsequently. The pasuk in Tehillim says, "Bidvar Hashem shomayim nasu u'v'ruach piv kol tzavon." Source 2. Through the word of Hashem, the heavens came into being, and through the breath of His mouth, all of the hosts. Everything in the world are effectively, they're created through the word of Hashem. in Hebrew, you have the word davar. Davar is a thing, but that's the same as dibur, same as a speech. The speech of Hashem is the same, is the thing that creates, that brings everything into existence. And you find the same thing when it comes to the description of the Nevi'im themselves, the prophets. Novi okim lohem mikerav achem komocha. Moshe Rabbeinu tells the Jewish people in Devarim that I will establish for you a Novi, a prophet. Mikerav achem, Hashem says, I will establish for you mikerav achem komocha, like you, like Moshe. V'nosati devorai b'fiv. I will place my word in his mouth. V'diber aleihem, and he will speak to them. Eis kol asher tzavenu, everything I command him. The idea that what Nevi'im have is the idea of speech. When they speak, they are speaking the matter, the thing itself. Davar and dibur being exactly the same thing. Speech is the essence of Nevuah, and their speech itself, if you like, they are speaking the very words of Hashem. That is the essence of Nevuah. When it comes to the publicizing of a miracle, of a nace, so it's only if it's a nace, a miracle, that we want to publicize through speech, through words, it has to be words that contain within them the thing itself, the davar. Dibur, which contains davar, which contains the matter itself, the essence of the idea itself. Because there you have the nace, the miracle, contained within the words. But when we have to use our own words, in other words, they're not words of Nevi'im, they're not words of prophecy, it's after the era of Tanakh, which of course is the case with Hanukkah, then it's a very different situation. Then all it is it's a description about the event that happened. It's a description about the story. It is not a description. We are not describing, we are not expressing the miracle itself. All we're doing is telling a story. We find that, this is the full source. It says, this is the instruction that Moshe Rabbeinu gives after the Egel Hazav, the golden calf, when he just tells that there is a need to extract the vengeance of Hashem, those who have sinned in this way. But the key phrase there is Kayamar Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu and subsequent prophets, Nevi'im, are able to use the words Kayamar Hashem. This is what Hashem says. But you never find, the topic there is not what concerns us for now, but you never find in the words of the Chachamim, of the sages, you never have these words, Kayamar Hashem. These are the words of Hashem. Because by definition, Chazal, once we're after the era of prophecy, they are never able to say words that are directly the words of Hashem, because they are not Nevi'im. They're not Nevi'im. They speak the words that they understand. Of course, we understand with Ruach HaKodesh, but they are effectively putting the shape into the words themselves. They are giving voice to their own words. They're expressing it in their own words. That is the essence of Torah Sheba'al Peh, of the oral Torah. So the point here to understand is that this is a critical difference between what we mean when we talk about Torah Shebechsav and Sheba'al Peh, the written Torah and the oral Torah. The written Torah is effectively the words, direct communication from Hashem himself through the Nevi'im, or through the Torah itself. Everything is about the Devarim, everything is about the words. The words themselves are the Davar, they are the thing. Davar meaning thing, Dibur meaning speech. But when it comes to the Chachomim, when it comes to anything that's post the era of the Torah, what we have is only something which we call Torah Sheba'al Peh, we call the oral Torah. It's something that remains in the hearts of the Chachomim, of the sages. It doesn't exist, if you like, in books. Yes, we have it written down, but that's only because we cannot contain it or we can't remember it all. That's the only reason everything in the Mishnah, the Gemara, the only reason it's all written down is because we simply aren't able, we would be unable to recall it, it would be lost. but effectively it remains an issue of speech itself, of speech alone. This is the essence of the difference between the reason why when we recall the Nes of Hanukkah, we are not commanded to tell the story, because all it would be is a story. All it would be is a story. When we tell the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim, or when we tell the story of Purim, what we're doing is we're saying the word of the Nes, of the miracle. That's what it is. It is the actual words. It is the actual words that express the miracle. But the miracle of Hanukkah is different. It can't be written down in that sense. It doesn't exist in a written text. It only exists in the way we transmit that miracle, that Nes. To writing it and to have a mitzvah to retell the story wouldn't help at all. And therefore, all we have when it comes to Hanukkah is the power of the miracle itself, of the Nes itself, of the mitzvah that we have as a result of that Nes, which of course we fulfill through lighting the menorah. That's what we have. That is the essence of what Hanukkah is. So if that's the case, the focus of Hanukkah must be on what exactly it is that the neiros of Hanukkah, the lights of Hanukkah, are meant to convey to us. And we know the miraculous story of how they are the Chashmonoim were victorious over the Greeks. We know the story as much as the basic essence of it. But as we said, the story is not the key point about Hanukkah. The key point about Hanukkah is the neiros themselves, the lights. When you look at Haneros Halolu, the tefillah that we say, the song that we say, lighting the menorah, you notice something very striking. We say, V'chol Shmei Nasi Chanukah, we know there are slightly different versions of Haneros Halolu, everyone has their own version. V'chol Shmei Nasi Chanukah, Haneros Halolu Kodesh Hem. These lights are holy. Ve'ein lonu reshus lishtamesh bohem. We have no permission to use them. Elo lirosom bilvad. Only to see them, only to look at them. Kedei lahodos lahalel shimcha hagala. In order to thank and to praise your name, your great name, al nisecha v'al nefesecha v'al shosecha, on your miracles, your wonders, and your salvation. What we see here is that somehow, when we light the menorah, it is meant to conjure up within us a sense of thankfulness. The critical idea of lighting the menorah, which, as we said, is the telling of the Nes. It is the mitzvah of lighting the menorah is the story. There is no written story that we fulfill any mitzvah by telling on Hanukkah. So we only have the lighting of the menorah. That is Hanukkah. And we do that kedei lahodos, in order to thank. The question is, what is it about the lights of Hanukkah? What do they do? How do they inspire that sense of gratitude? What is it that they do? So, in order to understand this, we need to look at what exactly it was. What was the ideology of ancient Greece? And what was it about their ideology that effectively we directly oppose through Hanukkah? What is it? And that we demonstrate on Hanukkah itself. Says Moshe Shapiro as follows. He says that the idea of ancient Greece in essence is a direct contradiction to the notion of gratitude. Why is this? Because ancient Greek philosophy at its heart, they believed in the notion of the world having no beginning, the world existing as is from time immemorial, that there is no beginning to the world, to the universe. In other words, the idea of the concept of a creator, the idea of a creation itself, is impossible in their world, that was impossible in their worldview. Obviously, that is itself complete heresy from a Jewish perspective. There is a creator. And we know that the word apikoros, which means a heretic itself, comes from ancient Greece itself. The very first words of the Torah are Bereshis, in the beginning. It is directly opposed to that way of thinking. But there is more to it than that, because if you claim, as they did, right, is that there is no starting point itself, there is no starting point at all, then effectively, their argument is that although we see change on the surface to the world, that change is all superficial. Everything effectively has always existed. There is this perpetual existence for the world. There is a sense that everything is based on the natural world, and everything is a continuum. It has no beginning and it has no end. It just keeps going by itself, through itself, all the time, as expected and as anticipated. And in that ideology, what you have, of course, is the notion of a miracle, of a nace, is impossible. There is no way there can be a place in that scheme for a nace, for a miracle, because a miracle takes you out of that natural order. There is no possibility also for prophecy, for nevuah. Again, that's an unnatural interference in what is a fixed and immovable cycle that always exists and always continued as expected. Only continuation is possible according to the ancient Greek philosophy. There is nothing else possible. Everything exists, and only that which can be proven exists. So the idea being that they only recognize this one layer, this one sense of existence. If things don't exist, if we call everything that's created in the world, then nothing exists. It has to be something we can measure and is present and effectively has always been present in some form. Now, what this means and what the worldview itself means, is that there can be nothing that brought anything new into being. And this helps us understand a very, very perplexing Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, Perek Beis, Mishnah Vov. The Mishnah says like this. It's one of the several statements attributed to Hillel HaZaken, Hillel the Elder. Mishnah says like this. This is source 6 on the sheets. He saw a skull. He once saw a skull floating on the surface of the waters. Omalo, he said to it, Al da'ateft atfuch, because you have sunk or washed others away, others have washed you away. The sif metafayech, and eventually those who washed you away will themselves be washed away. That is an incredibly cryptic Mishnah. What on earth is this coming to tell us? The skull, you wash people away, they wash you away. What does it mean? Says the Maharal. An incredible insight into what this Mishnah means. Hillel saw a human skull floating on the water. Human skull representing the intellect, the brain, the source of contemplation and thinking. How does the human brain think? It thinks on the surface of the water. It thinks with the surging flow of the waters. In other words, it thinks within that realm of natural cause and effect. A skull in Hebrew is a gulgoles, which is also related to the word galgal, which means a cycle. That's all the skull sees. The intellect sees a cycle. It sees whatever it can see floating on the surface of the water, going with the flow. The skull's approach, the human brain's approach, the human mind's approach to the ordinary approach without the Torah to world history is very simple. The world will always surge forward as expected. Because you killed someone, therefore you were killed. And those who killed you will likewise be killed. You have people who kill and they are punished. Others who kill them were punished as well. The cycle continues as well. That is all that is seen. That is all that the skulls see. In other words, this is meaningless history. Everything is automatic. Everything is established. The expected effect, the expected cause, always the same, unchanging. One cause will always bring about one effect as expected in turn. And in that such a worldview, there is no reason to live. There is nothing to do. Because what is the point? That's what Rebbe is trying to bring out from this Mishnah. What is the point in becoming just another skull that floats on the surface of the water and everything that happens to it in life is as completely as expected, as determined by the natural order? there is no benefit, everything is just worthless. This is, according to the Maharal, what Rebbe is expressing here is the worldview of the ancient Greeks. The worldview that only takes into account what is observable in a scientific manner. The idea that the world and the natural cycle has always existed, the absence of a creator, means that there is no possibility of gratitude. The one thing which it's impossible to express is to give thanks. Thanks on an existential level, thanks for existing. Because who do you thank? Who do you thank? You thank who? The water, the flow of the water? Everything's pre-existing, everything's predetermined. There's no beginning, there's no end. The cause and effect will always follow. It's irrelevant what I say or do. There is no one to thank. There is nothing to thank. Everything is established. Everything is a cause and effect as programmed. And the point, according to this, is if everything is based on the surging flow, the determined cause and effect, as everything is predicted to happen, then how is it possible to thank? How is it possible to express gratitude for existence, for being here, when it's all as predicted? Says Ramosha Shapiro, according to this, the essence of victory over the Greeks, the triumph over the Greeks, the idea that uproots the philosophy completely is to offer thanks, is to offer deep and meaningful gratitude. Because what the Greeks attempted to do, the philosophy itself, which is much more critical than the military side of things, the philosophy attempts to uproot the notion of a creator, the notion of a beginning. We know that it was on a predominantly spiritual level they tried to attack the Jewish people. We know this, there's difference in Hanukkah and Purim. What uproots and what directly goes against that way of thinking in the world? The notion of giving thanks, of gratitude. Says the Ramban in one of the most famous passages in his commentary on the Torah at the end of Parshas Bo. He says, "V'chavonas kol ha-mitzvos," the intention of all mitzvahs in the Torah, "Shena'amin be'Elokeinu," we should believe in our God, the Noda Elov, this is source 7, and we should thank him, Shehu Bara'anu, that he created us. V'kavonas ha-yetzira. This is the whole intent of creation. There is no reason, there is no other reason, he says, for the first creation. Hashem's only desire from the lower realms, that a person should know of his existence, and thank his God for creating him, and thank the idea, and thank him for existing. And the Ramban there explains at great length the whole notion of nissim, of miracles, and how these fit into this idea. He says, from the great publicized miracles, from the wonders like the Exodus from Egypt, Yetzias Mitzrayim, a person will thank and admit and agree and understand and give thanks for all those little small hidden miracles, which is the foundation of all of the Torah. He says, a person only has a portion in the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu. They are all miracles. There is nothing natural about them at all. In other words, the essence of miracles is to explain to us and bring home this idea that change is possible. Change itself to the way we live, to the way the world functions, is possible. Both the Rambam and the Ramban describe this idea with the famous idea that if a single leaf or a single wing of a fly on the other side of the world flutters, moves out of turn, it uproots the entire world. Why? Because it starts this chain reaction of cause and effect that would conflict with the existing order of cause and effect, and it would destroy the entire world. Nothing can move out of place. If the world has no beginning, there is nothing that can alter the laws upon which the world stands. There is only one existence. There is only one existence which is established absolutely, and there is no place at all for the concept of a miracle, for the concept of a nes. there is only the only place that is left, the only way the notion of a miracle can enter the scheme of creation is when existence itself is defined as Hashem's will and not as just a natural cause and effect, this ever-existing surging flow of waters, as we explained before. And then when it's defined by the will of God, by the will of Hashem, then we can say, then we see a place for miracles themselves, for Nisim. And it allows, by extension, for us to understand and give thanks for everything else in life. From those great, wondrous miracles, from admitting the truth of them, from understanding the truth of them, we begin to understand that even the small things that affect us in life are critical. It is critical that we give thanks for those small things. The essence of thanks can only exist through thanks on a deep, meaningful level. Thanks for being created, thanks for everything we have, can only exist if we believe in those great miracles and those great nisim, because they teach us that there is a creator, there is a cause, there is an effect on this world which is beyond the natural cause and effect. Now we come on to so just to sum up what we've said so far is effectively to understand that the essence of ancient Greek ideology leaves no place at all for the notion of gratitude, for the notion of giving thanks. And the reason for that is because it's based on a world order which assumes that everything must be provable and everything must exist as a cause and effect, like that skull floating on the waters. All it can see is the water flowing by. That's all it can see. It can't see anything else that can possibly affect the scheme of things. Whereas the worldview that we believe in, the Jewish worldview, the worldview of the Torah, is one that believes in a world run by Hashem, as demonstrated most powerfully by the great nisim of our history, the great miracles of our history, but on a micro level, through everything that happens to us in life, which enables us and allows us to therefore give thanks for everything that we see and all that happens to us in life. When you look at the notion of a flame, we'll come to the next source in a minute. When you look at the notion of a flame, you notice something striking. Because what happens is, if you look at a flame as a child looks at a flame, the fire seems to exist the whole time, right? If you use the right oil, the right wicks, the oil flows smoothly, everything looks as if it's in complete existence. But when you start thinking about it on a deeper level, you realize that the essence of what you're looking at is really an illusion. Because fire can't exist. What is fire? Fire burns. What you see at this moment wasn't there a moment ago, in a sense. At the previous moment, the fire was consuming the oil that it was consuming then. And now it's consuming more oil that has not yet been consumed. What a fire is, what fire represents is something that's always ending. It's always finishing. It consumes itself. If you look at a flame as an existing entity, you realize that's an impossibility. Fire burns. It no longer exists. It's a new flame all the time. It continues only because it burns more fuel, but it's not truly continuing. It's a new burning every single moment. We're not seeing a single fire. We're seeing a new fire that's rejuvenating itself every split second through burning new material, through burning new fuel. And why is that important? Why is that important in understanding the essence of a flame, how that relates to Hanukkah? The Medrash says in Bereshis Rabbah, Vayom Hashem al Avram lech lecho mi'artzecho v'gomer. Hashem tells Avram to go away from his land. Rabbi Yitzchak Posach, the Posach in Tehillim, he brings a Posach in Tehillim, and he says like this, Omer Rabbi Yitzchak, the next line, Moshe le'echot, we'll leave the Posach, Omer Rabbi Yitzchak, Moshe le'echot she'ovim e'mokum e'mokum. It's a parable. The story of Avram Avinu is a parable about someone who's traveling from place to place. V'ro bira achas dolekes. He sees a burning palace. He says it seems that this town, this palace has no one controlling it. The owner of the palace looks at him, says to him, Amalei system, Aniu Bala Bira, I am the owner of the palace. Kach says the Medrash, so too, because Avram Avinu says, is it possible that this world can have no creator? Is there no one guiding existence? At that moment, Hashem looked at him and said, Anihu Bal ha'olam, I am the one who controls the world. What Avram Avinu saw, the deeper meaning behind this Medrash, says Moshe Shapiro, is that is of course expressing the way he discovered his faith. How does the Medrash bring out the idea that he discovers his faith as a man who sees a flaming tower, a flaming building, a burning building? Avram sees creation as effectively departing from itself and consuming itself. Every moment it's changing, it's burning, but it's giving the appearance as though it continues to exist. It looks like it's just on a continuum. It looks like it's there all the time. You look at a flame, it looks like it's always burning. But what it's really doing is renewing itself through new fuel every minute. What a flame does, what a fire does, is it's the great teacher of what it really means to exist. Things appear in this world to exist continually. They appear like flames. They appear like a fire. When you look and understand what the flame is, then you understand existence itself. You understand that the notion of continual existence in this world, of the flame burning, of the building burning by itself of its own accord, is impossible. Just like a flame having a continual existence of itself, remaining static all the time, is really an impossibility. Really, the burning flame is different existences at each moment. The fire has no past and has no future. It just has a present. It has the fire of the present. The fire looks like it's always there, but really it's not. It has to be sustained every moment. The fire burns because it's sustained every minute. Hashem says, you see a burning building, you see the world. There's no continuity there by itself. Just like a flame needs the continuous fuel all the time. That is the great lesson of the flame itself, of fire itself. And that is why when we talk about why it is and how it is that we bring out the essence of the miracle of Hanukkah, the publicizing of the miracle of Hanukkah, that is why it comes about not through the telling of a story, because the telling of the story in the post-biblical era, which is when the story of Hanukkah takes place, that wouldn't publicize any miracle at all. That can only happen if the word itself is the word of Hashem. The miracle of Hanukkah cannot be written. What it can be done, what we can do on Hanukkah, is we light a flame which tells the story, which tells the miracle itself. It tells the essence of Hashem's continual existence. And therefore, the idea of gratitude, the idea of understanding that we exist because Hashem wants us to exist, and that therefore we need to thank Hashem for every moment of existence, the essence of what gratitude is, and the entire antithesis of the ancient Greek philosophy. The Rambam says in Sefer Mitzvahs, he describes the reasons why Hashem commanded us to build the Beis HaBechira, to build the Beis HaMikdash. And he says, to serve Hashem, bo ya'akrova, we're offer korbanos, that's one reason. V'havoras ha'esh tomid, and the burning of the continual fire on the Mizbeach, on the altar. And to there shall be the going up every year, the gathering every year to be Ola Regel, to go up for the Yom Tovim. And V'omer Yisala, and he himself said, V'asuli mikdash, make for me a Beis HaMikdash. The Rambam here adds a new element, a surprising element. He says one of the primary reasons that Hashem told us to build a Beis HaMikdash is, he gives three reasons. One is to offer korbanos. One is to be Ola Regel 3 times a year. The Jewish people can gather together. It's a focal point of unity for the whole of the Jewish people. But then he has another reason. The middle reason he gives is for the continual fire. Why is that a reason to build a Beis HaMikdash? What is the reason? Why on earth would we have to build a Beis HaMikdash in order to keep a continual burning fire? The answer is, according to this, as Moshe Shapiro, that the flame itself, the fire itself, teaches us how to look at existence that the world does not live on some system of cause and effect of a physical nature, because it's always A plus B equals C. That's how the world functions. Always in the way of observable phenomena, and that there is nothing else beyond that. Because the Torah looks at the world in a different way. The Torah looks at the world like a burning flame, the Eish Tomit, the continual fire that's always there, because it always needs something with a capital S, someone to sustain, to support its existence eternally. That's the flame. And that, of course, is also the flame of Hanukkah itself. There is a story in the Gemara in Tomid, which is a very surprising story. We're a little bit short on time, so just paraphrase this source, which is source 10. It's a Gemara in Tomid. It describes how Alexander the Great, if you like, the father in a historical sense of ancient Greece itself, not, of course, himself the great philosophers, but he epitomizes ancient Greece. He eventually travels to Africa, and he goes there and he sits on the banks of a river and he consumes some fish. And the fish are very salty. So he rinses them in the waters of the river, just paraphrasing the story in the Gemara. There's a debate as to exactly what happens to those fish, but somehow he realizes, maybe some say the fish came back to life, some say they had this incredible smell, it was from a different world. He realized that the river he had stopped by must come from Gan Eden itself, the Garden of Eden. So he follows the river until he reaches the head of the river, and he knocks on it, and he goes to the entrance and he calls out where the river is the source of the stream, and he says, Pischuli Bova, third line from the end, open for me the gates. Amrullah said to him, he heard a voice replying, This is the gate for Hashem, only the righteous can enter. And he says, Ano Malka, I'm a king, I'm important, Machshav Chashiv, I'm an important person. They said, at least give me something, and they give him something. Some say it's an eyeball, some say it's a human skull, which would fit with the Mishnah before. Gulgalta Chama, he's given a human skull. What is the meaning? When he says, open up for me, I want to enter Gan Eden, he's referring to the psukim before the pasuk, which says, this is the gate for Hashem, the righteous will enter. The pasuk says before that, Pischuli Shari Tzedek, Ovoivom, open for me the gates of righteousness, I will enter there, Oideka, and offer thanks to Hashem. And that was what he was quoting, allow me to enter the gate. But of course, what he missed was the only one who can enter is someone who is Oideka, someone who is able to give thanks to Hashem. And he is unable to give thanks to Hashem because he lives with the entire ancient Greek philosophy of there being only this world. The response to this is the gate for Hashem tzadikim avoyavoy. Only tzadikim will enter. Only those who have this essence of being able to thank. Says the Medrash in Vayikra Rabbah. The Medrash says this Medrash needs a lot of understanding, but how whether there are different opinions in this regard. But this particular Medrash says that Rabbi Pinchas and Rabbi Levi, Rabbi Yochanan said the name of Menachem de Galia that le'osid love in the future kol hakorbanos b'teilim. All the korbanos won't exist. The korban toda in a bottle. The one that will remain is the korban toda, the korban that is given when giving thanks. Kol tefillos b'teilos, even all tefillos won't be there. Ha'hodah in a b'teilah, except for, maybe it's talking about the time of Shech. We don't exactly what it's referring to. But who knows? Ha'hodah. It seems to be talking about the time. It says sometime in the future. In the time of Mashiach, perhaps, all the tefillos aren't there, all prayers aren't there, but the idea of giving thanks is, that's never nullified. And it brings various psukim to support this. What is the idea? The idea of this is, as the Ramban, we brought the Ramban earlier, that the key essence of creation, is being able to express thanks. When we believe in Hashem, we can express thanks. It's the entire reason for our existence. When we thank Hashem, what we're really doing is we're declaring that we are in his hands, that we don't live a natural system of cause and effect. We don't live like a human skull that just floats on the water and floats along without understanding that there is more to life than the stream which pushes him or her along in a certain direction. We live within an understanding of Hashem controlling the world. The real essence of Hanukkah, the final victory over the ancient Greeks, over the Yevonim, is this idea, this perception of what it means to express thanks to Hashem. That's the depth of what it really means to exist. When we do that, when we understand what it means to thank, we have really understood the essence of the Nes of Hanukkah, the essence of the miracle of Hanukkah. We don't tell the story through relating a story. We light a flame. We light the flame to commemorate the Nes, because what a flame does, what it does is it reminds us why it is that we exist. The fact that our existence is not by chance, is not based on the natural order of the world, some cause and effect, but it's because Hashem wants us to be here. It's because we have a creator, and because we have a creator, we are therefore able to give thanks. So that ultimately the whole of Hanukkah exists, Kedei Lahodos, in order to give thanks. In order to give thanks to Hashem. When we contemplate and we think about the lights of the menorah, what we're really doing is we are heightening our sense of gratitude. When everything is gone, when there's nothing left, at all, that's that last medrash we brought, in the world, the Osid Love in the future, the only thing that's left is to give thanks, is to express gratitude. A person who's able to express and give thanks for every moment they have in life. A person who's able to get up in the morning and say, Moida Ani, the idea that I give thanks before I even say the word Ani, I. First I give thanks, Moida Ani. That person knows what it means, what a true existence means. And that person has really understood and integrated into themselves and into their lives the essence of Hanukkah, the miracle of Hanukkah. The miracle of Hanukkah, the observance of Hanukkah, the Yom Tov of Hanukkah itself is based on absorbing the lesson of a flame and what a flame teaches us. Flame renews itself constantly all the time. And so too, our lives are constantly renewed by our Creator, and therefore, ultimately and essentially, we need to give thanks for every moment and every second that we have in life. Hanukkah, as we started, as the title of the Shiur is a month of light, but it's also a month of gratitude, of understanding what it means to give thanks. Thank you all for joining. I don't know if there's any questions or anything anyone would like to raise anything.
I just want to say I've got a lot of gratitude to the rabbi for giving such a great shiur.
Thank you, Joanna. That's great. I'm pleased you enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm very pleased you enjoyed it. The nice thing about giving... Pleasure. Pleasure. Thank you so much. The nice thing about giving a shiur this length of time before Hanukkah is there's plenty of time, plenty of time to share it. So we'll maybe distribute the link, the recording. Those who missed it can enjoy it. There's lots of weeks still. There's several weeks before Hanukkah, so it's a shiur which can be very happy to share with others.
We'll keep on giving. Thank you.
Okay, fine.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Okay, and wish you all a Chodesh Tov. Okay. Hopefully next time we'll be in person as well, I hope, as well as being on Zoom.
That would be nice.
Okay. Take care. Have a good week.